What's up, everybody? Big Cobb Diesel coming at you. Bear with me while I adjust my phone here a little bit. What's up, everybody? Big Cobb Diesel coming at you. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about less lethal. Specifically, I want to talk about pepper spray, okay? As you guys know, obviously, I'm a firearms instructor, and a firearm is in my defense plan, my personal defense plan. But those of you that know me, you guys know that I also carry a gun for work because I work armed security. So obviously there's situations that may occur when we're working security that may not happen in everyday life, just out and about minding your business, and vice versa. So one of the things that I found that kind of surprised me coming from the Department of Corrections into private security was that a lot of security companies are not advocating the use of less lethal. I give you an example. I worked at the Renaissance Center downtown, the GM account, and we were what they called CPO, which was Custom Protections Officer, and that's because the Renaissance Center combined with G4S as a company to create the armed security force there. Which, why they did all that, I don't know. It was above my pay grade. But one of the things I was shocked about, because that job was probably the closest job to a police job at the time that you would get, because it was a PA 330 site. If you don't know what that is, I do have some videos down below, not tagged, but if you search my video history, I've done a couple of videos on PA 330 if you want to know what that's all about. But anyways, I digress. So what surprised me was that, at that job, we just had pistols. That was all we had. No batons, no tasers, no pepper spray. And the reason why that is a potential problem, and having said that, most security companies, I don't know if it's a liability thing, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. But most security companies don't issue, nor do they advocate the use of any non-lethal, including pepper spray. And for those of you that don't know what the use of force continuum is, if you've worked in law enforcement or you were a military police officer, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you that just came straight into the security game, you may or may not know what I'm referring to. But the use of force continuum is basically a set of responses that us as the good guys can legally use based on a set of actions that a bad guy uses. And in short, we can only react to what the perpetrator, the bad guy, the assailant does. The bad guy drives the bus in an interaction. Meaning, if you see somebody doing something wrong, let's say you're working armed security, you're on your site, you observe somebody stealing, for instance, and you say, hey, stop. Well, you've just used force on the person. Now, you might be saying, well, what is he talking about? Well, you actually are using force when you give a verbal command to somebody, but also your presence, especially your presence in a uniform, whether they can identify you based on the uniform or your plain clothes, and you let them know, hey, security, stop. That's the lowest level of force on the continuum, and it's easier to think of it as a ladder with rungs on it, right? The lowest rung on the ladder is that officer presence, verbal commands, right? At the very top of that ladder is deadly force. That means putting bullets in somebody, right? And in between, you have some other rungs. And that's where this comes in, right? This comes in as yet another option that you can use at your disposal, so that the only two options you're not stuck with is verbal commands, officer presence, and deadly force. That's not cool. That's not cool. You don't want to have just two options. You want to have three or four. And that's where your pepper spray comes in. Now, there might be some of you who are watching this who have been carrying pepper spray all along as a security guard and have never been trained on it. And you don't have to be trained on it. I want to be clear on this. You're not legally required in the state of Michigan to go through any training to carry this. You can buy this at Target. You can buy it at Walmart. So there's no training required. However, as a security professional, it behooves you to get trained. Why? Because when you go through the training, you're going to learn everything there is about this. You're going to learn the nomenclature, the parts, right? You're going to learn what the makeup of in this case, pepper spray, the active ingredient being oleoresin capsicum, which is what makes it hot. Same thing when you eat a pepper, it's the oleoresin capsicum that gives you that heat. You're going to learn about the effects of this. You're going to learn about who you should spray with this and who you shouldn't spray with this. You're going to learn about what distance is the effective maximum, minimum, and maximum effective range of this. So you're going to learn about all these things. Also, if you go through a good certification, you're going to get exposed to it. You're going to get sprayed with it. Now, there's a couple benefits. So let me stay on the first part where you're going to learn everything there is to know about it. Because then you're going to make a more informed decision on whether or not to use this, okay? You can't spray pregnant women with this. You can't spray kids with this. And you would think, well, that's common sense, but common sense isn't common anymore. And it just might be something that you just didn't think about, right? You can't use this on somebody who has any kind of medical issues. If somebody says, I have asthma, you can't spray them, okay? So you learn what you can and can't do, which helps protect you legally, okay? Again, you don't need this information. You can go to Target, buy this, somebody attacks you, you can spray them, but what's going to happen? You're going to spray somebody, they may or may not go to jail, they're going to sue you. And if you don't have any kind of certification as a security guard, if you don't have any certification behind this, Jeffrey Feiger, Mike Morse, they're going to sell a story to either the jury, to a courtroom, to a jury, that you're a cowboy, that you're out there just willy-nilly spraying people, and they're going to paint you in a bad light. So if you can say, hey, I am certified, I went through a training course, I have my certification, right? I have my certification, and you can articulate what that training provided, now you look like a professional. You look like somebody who takes your job seriously, and it helps protect you against getting sued. I mean, anybody can get sued, but the question is whether it's going to be successful or not, right? So the other part of this is we talked about the different parts and all that stuff. So if you go through a good certification program, the one that's by the book, you will get sprayed. That's part of getting certified. And if you've never been sprayed before, you don't want the first time that you use this to be the first time you experience it. Does that make sense? You don't want to be in a tussle with somebody. You're trying to either arrest them or you're trying to get them out, and they start beating on you, and you pull this out and spray it, and you've never been exposed to it before. Because if you've never been exposed to it before, a couple of things are going to happen. This is going to react with the mucous membranes in your nose and your mouth. It's going to cause your eyes to burn and water. Your mucous membranes are going to burn. Your lungs are going to burn. You will not be able to take deep breaths. And if you've never experienced that stuff before, you may freak out. You may freeze. You may go out to lunch completely. And whatever it is you were trying to do, you're going to forget about it. And the bad guy's either going to get away. If you're lucky, all they want to do is get away. Or they may turn on you and harm you. Okay, so that's why you don't want your first exposure with this to be when you're trying to use it. That's why you should go through a good certification program to get exposed to it, so that whatever reaction you're going to have, you have it in a training environment that's safe for you, so that you know how you will react. Now, some people can what we call eat gas, even though this is not gas, we still use the same term. That comes from back in the old days when we used tear gas, basically. Some people this does not affect, and this is another thing you're going to learn when you go through the training. You might be one of those people, and if you're one of those people, I am jealous, because this shit affects me. All the years of using this in the prison system, I never built up a tolerance to it. I never did. I'm just going to tell you right now, I will react to this today the same way I reacted to it the very first time I got sprayed with it years ago, and every time in between. But again, I can't stress enough, that's the benefit of doing this stuff. So you don't need a certification, but I'm trying to explain to you why you should think about getting a certification, okay? The cost to get certified is very minimal, and like I'm telling all of you security professionals, you need to stack those certs. Again, certifications help you negotiate better money, better contracts. Let's say you work on a security contract where the owner of the company and the client, they don't care whether you carry pepper spray or not. They just want to hire a gun. So, cool. You can carry this. And you have it available and you're confident with it. You might be working on a contract with other guys who aren't carrying it, who can't carry it, because they don't know what they're doing. Excuse me. So that, again, is possibly a conversation to have with the contract manager, the detail manager, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to money, and say, hey, I have these certifications, and everything that you're trying to get, you gotta think, okay, if I'm trying to get something from a boss, from a client, in their mind, they're going to say, well, what's in it for me? So what's in it for me? Hey, man, just so you know, I'm pepper spray certified, and whatever, CPR, some of this stuff. So could you pay me a couple more dollars? Because I see you got guys over here, that aren't certified and all that stuff. And at least it's a conversation. Again, I can't stress enough, know your worth, be ready to turn down jobs. Be prepared to turn down jobs, because if we keep accepting these jobs for the minimum amount of pay, they're going to keep paying the minimum amount of pay. I mean, look at the last 4 years, 5 years. The cost of living has gone up. Everything is more expensive, right? We have been dealing with inflation, and we're not hear a lot about inflation anymore, but we're starting to hear about these tariffs. And it's questionable whether or not these tariffs are going to affect us as individuals, but the bottom line is everything is more expensive, and it's not coming down anytime soon. So we got to get paid what we're worth, right? And if you are a professional, you're putting in the time, your own time, to go out and get certifications that you're not even required to have most of the time. That's still a bargaining chip, right? So anyways, guys, I highly suggest that you think about getting certified. I am an instructor for Saber Red, so I offer these classes. Also, if you would like to get a quicker certification, I'll link one below for Mace, because I'm also with Mace, which is another brand name. This is Saber. Mace is another brand name. You can quickly go on, click the link below, go to my portal, and you can get Mace certified for $20. Now, you won't, obviously it's online, so you're not going to have the benefit of getting exposed to the pepper spray, but at least you have that certification. And I do highly recommend that you do opt in to get exposed at least once in your life, so that at least you know what it's like, that you know how you will react, so that the first time that you're exposed to it isn't when you try to deploy it. But that's all I got for today. Let me know, guys, has anybody in here been through the old school training like I did, where you got sprayed across the face and had to do a bunch of stuff? jumping jacks, running place, get all hot and sweaty. They spray you, and then you got to go from station to station. Those are the good old days. I don't even know if they do that anymore, but I will probably set that up coming in 2026. It's a little late in the season. I don't know. You guys tell me if you're interested in that. I will try to pull something together here before the weather gets too bad, because I think you should experience at least once in your life. But let me know. Write in the comments below, what was your first experience with pepper spray or tear gas, whether it was in the military, law enforcement, or even as a civilian. And other than that, guys, stay safe, and I will see you soon. Cobb Diesel out.